Alright, Runts, sit down and shut your gob. We got a lot to talk about with this new edition of the big game coming in. More... 2 months! And all GORK's wisdom's been announcing ORKY legend after ORKY legend, making their return to Armageddon alongside the prophet of GORK and mock themselves, Gazgul Meguruk Fucker. We got boss Snickrot, the sneakiest, stabbiest git coming back. We got Urlock Glitzdakka coming back too, though I hear Daze is a terrible Bad Moon boss. But that's okay, cause the biggest, baddest, flashiest Bad Moon's boss to ever boss the boys is back too. Nazdrag a war boss? No. A warlord. So cunning, killy, and flashy that they've been around since the 2nd edition of the big game. Longer than even Gazgul. But even the flashiest warlord is getting outshined by the most legendary, the most mysterious mech to ever hold a spanner. The inventor of ORKY teleporter technology, Orkimedes. Yeah. Up till now, not even the orcs knows that much about the mad mech, but between them and the brilliant deductions of Nazdrag, Gazgul got the biggest teleporter thing in all of orkdom. The Mega Tele-Shocker Portal. It's like a shock attack gun, but instead of shooting snotlings, usually shooting giant fleets of kill cruisers wherever they need to go. And so me, we also sees the return of the fastest dead-eye boss on 2 wheels, Glitzdakka Gunsmack. And this boy, this boy. This lad deserves their own video with all the insane killer things that they did. And maybe next time Moz is gonna do that. However, this video, we need to talk about the other great orc legend that spans all the kids that calls themselves green. And you might be shocked to find out that they ain't no orc, but a humie. But not just any humie, lads. This is Commissar Yarrick, old BALE EYE, and the crowd of Gazgul themselves. And with their return to the big game alongside Glitzdakka, I think it's only fitting that I tell you Runts all about this great humie boss. A humie boss so great it puts all the beakies to shame. So sit down and open your lungs. Noted. Old BALE EYE came out of their crawl hole onto a planet called Taros 3, and apparently their 2 runners died when they was just a youth. But unlike these lazy, stupid youths of today, one of BALE EYE's older runners taught the little kid all the good things in life. Like how to fight proper, and use sneaky cunning to fight better. Good thing too, cause it wasn't too long before the boys started a big scrap on BALE EYE's home planet. Now, most humies would either run away scared or hide behind a big gun, thinking that's gonna make them kill as an orc. But old BALE EYE, no. Even as a youth, this kid was acting like a regular blood axe. Sneaking around, boys, crumpet the sulk out of crods. I mean, blood axes is sneaky little annoying kids, but for a humie youth, that's pretty tough and orky right there. Eventually, the big humie the humie boys showed up on the planet to give the boys a much better fight. And all the while, old BALE EYE went to some humie learning shack, where they went from being a youth to a boss. See, most humies that go to this education place learns how to make humies more scared of them than whatever it is that they is fighting. But not old BALE EYE, no. See, they just smart. They learned important things, like learning how to speak proper orc. And they learned how the boys like to fight, how they like to think, and best of all, how to give boys a proper scrap. And old BALE EYE got so good at doing orky thinking that they's got some mob of humies of their own to be the boss of. Them steely boys. Humie boys that knows how to fight orky boys right. Now, after all that, old BALE EYE thought the days was just gonna stop being great and just kinda give up and, I don't know, do nothing. I swear, you get this concept of retirement is right naff. But instead, Gazgul brought the first great war to the planet. And it was here where old BALE EYE became a legend. See, he knew how dead-eyed and killy Orksies is. But at that time, BALE EYE was just the lower boss to some stupid fat humie what wasn't worth nothing. Saying that boys was nothing to worry about. We showed them. Properly understanding that this boss was just a fat git, old BALE EYE instead brought one soaking good fight to Ghazghkull's boys at the humie town of Hades. And what a fight it was! It was so good that Yarrick was beaten to boys proper. So Ghazghkull sent a snakebite boss called Ugelhard to finish off old BALE EYE personally. But, Ugelhard didn't realize that this was Yarrick. The snakebite boss got a lucky clampdown with their power claw, cutting off Yarrick's right arm. But, unlike other humans that would crumple up and cry and piss themselves, Yarrick picked up their chain chopper and sliced off Ugelhard's head with a single chop. Then, chopping off the snakebite's power claw, lifting it up for all the boys to see. And that is when this old humie became the legend, old BALE EYE. Cause then old BALE EYE had Ugelhard's power claw mounted to their arm. And you'd think that this here old humie scrawny boy wouldn't be able to even lift an orky power claw. But no, see, this ain't no regular humie. This is old BALE EYE. And not only did they have Ugelhard's claw to remind the boys of who they was messing with, but this was when old BALE EYE got their BALE EYE. An eye with the power to shoot a deadly killy beam, killing any boy with a single look. And in the other hand, holding a shooter so big and full of Dakka that only beakies could carry him. But this wasn't any other humie, no, this was old BALE EYE. And even though Yarrick didn't need nothing else to make the boys piss themselves in fear, old BALE EYE got her own personalized humie battle wagon, complete with 11 barrels of the hardest hitting humie Dakka that any boy would ever see again. And you might be thinking that old BALE EYE would have their boys fight like regular humies, right? Like any other commissar, lieutenant, whatever the humie words for bosses is. I know Bloodaxe. But no, this is old BALE EYE. When Ghazghkull sent out a wave of bombers so big it turned the sky black, Yarrick knew that they didn't have enough flock of Dakka to bring down all the bombers. So instead, he told all his big guns and artillery and such to point straight up into the sky and fire. And sure enough, this very orky tactic boom smashed every ork bomber in the sky. Then there was that time a bunch of mechs made the biggest, clunkiest, smashiest, shootiest gargant they could make, fitted with a giant drill that would be able to drill their way all the way into Hive Hades center. But BALE EYE, being the cunning sort, knew the orks would do this, so they blew up a big hole underneath the gargant and sank into the dirt. I can't even be mad at that. It was this kind of proper orky tactical thinking that made them beat out Ghazghkull every single time. And Ghazghkull said that they had to go, something about going to some humid planet called Golgotha, so they decided to take off. But I think we all know that Yarrick had them dead to rights. But anyway, Yarrick, being the great crow that he is, went after Ghazghkull as soon as they left. But for as orky as old BALE EYE is, he can never be as orky as the warlord of warlords. Ghazghkull set a trap and smashed Yarrick's forces and imprisoned the humie legend. But like the good sport that Ghazghkull is, they let Yarrick go so he could go back to Armageddon and get ready for an even bigger, meaner, and greener war that Ghazghkull is gonna bring. Thus kicks off the third big scrap on Armageddon, with old BALE EYE only having 2 weeks to get ready for the Prophet's return. And he wasn't ready for what Ghazghkull had cooking up. Between all the boys that got teleported in, thanks to Nazdrag and Archimedes, as well as all the rocks that was dropping in from the sky, full of Dakka and boys, Yarrick was surprised to say the least. But that boss of a humie lived up to his legend and gave Ghazghkull another great scrap. And once again, Ghazghkull said to take on board and then left. with their crowd all BALE EYE right behind them. Then sometime after that, the humies did something stupid because of course they did. They told a bunch of the humie bosses that Yarrick, all BALE EYE, was dead. Except no one knew how he died, so, you know, humies believed it anyway because the humie said so. So can illogical, all these humies. How can something be dead if nobody saw it die or know how they died? Well, that's humies for you. But to everybody's happy surprise, as recent events has transpired, old BALE EYE was not dead. He apparently got together with them Black Cross beakies and gave chase, just like a good crowd should. Eventually, old BALE EYE, and the beakies I guess, found Gaskell on the planet of Korea, and true to his legend, the two of them faced each other in another titanic showdown. But unlike every other time, it was Gaskell that won, crushing Yarrick's bones and headbutting him to the ground hard. But rather than outright kill Yarrick, they left him on the ground all broken up and smashed, but not dead. I guess that's why all the humies thought that old BALE EYE got crumped. But no. Some wolf beakies grabbed Yarrick and, I don't know, rebuilt him, I guess. I mean, it worked for Gaskell that one time the Zolgan wolf beakies wouldn't mind their own Zolgan business and stay out of the grudge between Gaskell and old BALE EYE. Now, beaky fans, I don't really care how Zolgan amazing you think this stupid no-beaky was. It wasn't right that this kid should be killing, let alone fighting to profit. That right belongs to old BALE EYE. And as Gork's wisdom promised, come the new edition of the big game, we's gonna see these two great Orky legends clash one more time, with old BALE EYE getting even more killy abilities, weapons and such, and Glitzdakka Gutsmech leading the charge as the Speed Freaks make their way first on to the big fight Armageddon. I mean, they is the fastest ork there is, and again, we probably should give Glitzdakka their own video. But for now, that was the story of the ork legend, old BALE EYE, the orkiest humie that ever lived. Big thanks to all the boys, bosses, and knobs for giving us your tape so we can keep making the orkiest videos onto YouTube. And stay tuned for even more stories, strategies for the big game, and of course, more Is It Orkies. But until next time, boys, sub up and sog off! What's it? Who did Zog would do something like this?